Hello and welcome back. Today I have an antenna tuner, and it's even an automatic antenna tuner, and it is the ATU-100 EXT, and I think the EXT is for extended because instead of going from 1.8 to 30 megahertz, it goes up to 55 even, so we can also do a little bit of 6 meters. It says it's automatic tuning, so that is pretty cool. If you're not familiar with antenna tuners, it is actually to tune your antenna, because for each frequency you need a different length antenna. And if you have a high frequencies, the antenna is very small, like on your Wi-Fi. It's even so small you don't even see. On your phone you don't even see because the antenna is already inside. But on your radio, just your normal commercial radio, the antennas are a little bit bigger like this because that frequency is a little bit lower. But if you go lower and lower and lower, like in the HF here, I'm now on 7 megahertz. These HF transmitters usually go around from 1.8 up to 30 megahertz. And and so those frequencies are so low, you need very, very long antennas or very long wires. And a wire is usually more practical. I have a wire here. So I have this N7DDC antenna. I don't have a permanent solution for this, but now I kind of semi. So what I do when the weather is good, I have here my long wire is here, just stuck in between the window, so I can open this, and then I will just put the balloon out like that. And I have an elastic on the other side that just pulls the wire straight. But when I change frequencies, I don't want to adjust the length of my cable, so that's why I use an antenna tuner. Here I have my transmitter. It's the Yaesu FT450. It's pretty nice. It can deliver up to 100 watts FM, and it also has AM and SSB. Well, this is the antenna tuner, and with this I tune the antenna to the correct length, and you can change the capacity. Here is your inductor. Yeah, maybe you need to see it as adding length or taking length of the antenna, and then here you can change the inductance, impedance to the transmitter, and here the impedance to the antenna, and that way you can tune. And you can see this is with the double needle, so you have your forward power and your backwards power, and you want that all the power goes out of the antenna, so you don't want anything back. So ideal would be that if you are on 100 watts, that this meter is on 100 watts and this one doesn't move at all, because all the power is out of the antenna, nothing comes back. It is a very nice small box. It has 2 PL plugs, VHF, UHF, whatever you want to call the plug. But it is this, not M connector, because it's a low frequency. Usually you have these PL plugs. It has a little battery. You need to charge it through USB. It is a little of a pity that it is not USB-C. It is still this I don't know, it's a micro USB, I think. If you put it the wrong way around, you break everything. So that is a pity, but we switch it on. ATU extended board, it said, and it said also the designer who did it. And I looked in GitLab and I saw that this version 3.2 is indeed the last version. The challenge with this automatic antenna tuner lies usually in the range that they can adjust. So my FT450 here has got an internal antenna tuner, but it cannot tune too much. So if your antenna is almost there, there will be no problem. But when the difference between the frequency and the optimal frequency of the antenna is if the difference is too big between them, then you could have a problem that the automatic antenna tuner doesn't tune. And that is a lot of the case with these HF sets, because the frequency range is so wide, because this one goes from almost just below 2 megahertz up to 50. And so yeah, the tuner needs to do a lot, and the range usually is not good enough. So I've switched it off, and then I started using this MFJ. Then we set the RF power. We set to, well, somewhere below 30, but not too low. So I usually do somewhere like 25. Okay, we start transmitting, and here we can see the forward power, and here we see the reflected power. So I need, of course, to go to FM because I need the carrier. I don't want to whistle all the time. So here we can see we have a lot of reflected, so we need to tune that. Try to tune that. And there it goes, there it goes. Yeah, we tune some more. Here we go. And then we can tune maybe here some more. No, we are on the end here. So then we have almost all the power out and nothing comes back. Yeah, this is easier to see. Now let's fine tune it a little bit more. Now we are really at the end here. So this is the optimal setting. And this is what you do with tuning. So the maximum power gets out, but it also means that the maximum energy to receive also comes in. So now it's perfectly tuned. It's almost not doing anything. And also depending on the quality of the antenna tuner, and in the past they were also called matchers. If you are a CB user, it's usually called an antenna matcher. But yeah, this is a proper tuner. And a better tuner will, of course, get a better result and also less attenuation. So you saw me turning all the knobs, but what actually happens inside the device? And let me open it, and I will also open the automatic tuner, and I think you can see what happens there. Well, so here we have the tuner, and as I explained, here with your inductor you can virtually add length to your antenna. If this kind of maybe most easy to explain. And here you have your two capacitors. Maybe if I turn you can see a little bit better. So here you have your coil, and you just, it's kind of a band switch to add length or take length out. And here you change your impedance to your transmitter or to your antenna. And that's kind of it. And well, to do that electronically, they thought of something smart. So instead of all these switches, they put a lot of relays. As you can see, they have 7 relays on this side, 7 relays on this side, and this is probably the bypass. So instead of doing this switch, I don't know how many settings this has, but it is, well, let's say 10. Here they have 7, but they can combine. So you can see here all the coils that they can switch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, I have here 7 maybe. And the same is, instead of this variable capacitor, they have here a lot of capacitors that they also can switch, and they can make all kinds of combinations to tune the antenna. But as you can already see in the amount of space, there is of course a limit what these automatic antenna tuners can do, because of how they are made. Now they need to be in a small box, so the length of the coils will be a little bit different, and the capacitance will maybe also be limited, especially when it is built into your transmitter. So yeah, I'm kind of excited to try it. So I will connect it now between my transceiver and my N7DDC antenna. The antenna is made for that frequency, so it doesn't need to tune too much, but still we could see that the internal tuner had a problem with it. So I will be very surprised what this can do. Now I took the other one away. I have here my transmitter, the other one is the antenna. I don't see a ground wire, but I also grounded the antenna already, and also the transceiver is grounded. So it will be grounded then through the antenna cables. But usually you prefer to have a proper grounding also. So maybe I will add that later or not. Okay, just a quick check if the vent is free, we don't hear anything. Do I still have my power? Good, yes, 25 watts, should be okay. It needs about 10 watts to tune, I think. We switch it on. Let me zoom in a little bit on the device. Okay, let's do that again. We switch it on. We can see the designer here and the firmware. And I will link also to the documentation and to the GitHub I found, so you can play with it, because some of the default settings you can change and it is all very well described. So one short push should reset it, all the values to 0, and one long push sets it ready for tuning. It says now tune. So if I go back, I get the microphone and let me just tune it. Here we go. You can hear some noise and it tuned it. It says it is SWR 121.27, which is pretty good. 20 watts power and 20 watts to the antenna, and that means the efficiency is 98%. That is pretty cool. So it was able to tune it. So let me try that again. If it was a lucky shot, first I need to reset it. That should be, yes, more fair. Tune. Transmitting. You can hear it do all kinds of combination, and again, it has it right. Okay, I wanted it closer to the radio so you can actually also see the frequency. So if I change now to another frequency, the antenna of course needs to be retuned. Let me reset it. Ready for tuning. I go to another frequency like 40 megahertz. Need to go to FM. Well, I hear something. Let me just go here. So, my power was good, I think. Yes, 25 watts. Good. Ready for tuning. Here we go. Tack, tack, tack. And now it says 96%, but still it was able to tune it. So the same wire I use for 7 megahertz and I use for 14 megahertz, and it will just retune it. Of course, it's a half of it, so it of course should be able to do it, but it does. So that is kind of pretty. Let me try again if it was just a lucky shot, because it says 95, maybe we can get it to 98. Still 95. Let me try again. 95, no, every time, spot on. Okay, now we're gonna do a frequency that the wire is not made for. Let's say 18 megahertz. Let me go also to FM. Nothing here. Let's see if it wants to do that, or it just can't do it. It doesn't want to tune. No, the transmitter doesn't like it, so it's too far off. No, 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 no. 21 should be able to do that. Nothing here. Is tuning mode. Cluck, cluck, cluck. No, it doesn't. Yeah, it's also not able to tune this. So that's why you also need to be careful with the power, and that's exactly why I use only 25 watts. And this is possible. It seems to work pretty cool, actually. Go back to 7. Clock. Now 98%. No problems here. So that behaved actually pretty well, and also pretty well as expected. If we are around the frequency that fits the length of the wire, then it is able to tune it to 98%, and on the frequency that it is almost for, it was like 95, but it is still pretty good, and the range is a lot wider than the internal tuner of my transceiver, because that one was not able at all to tune it. And this one just tuned it immediately. And of course, if we put a frequency that is not made for the length of this wire, then of course the difference is too big and it cannot do that. And then maybe with a manual tuner, especially the older ones, you can probably tune it, but it doesn't mean the antenna is effective. It is just that it is tuned well, the impedance is correct, and but the effectivity, of course, is just not good, because the length is not made for that frequency. Like when you use a dummy load, the SWR would be perfect, but you just receive nothing. So that is what you need to think of, that your length need to be correct. But for mobile use, I really think it's perfect, because you just take your long wire, you drop it there, you know what frequency you're going to transmit on, and probably it is 3.5, 7 or 14 megahertz. So just have your 20 meter something cable, have this little tuner, and you're on the road. Perfect. So this is one of those old-fashioned tuners. I'm again on 7.15 megahertz, so that's band 7. And I just start transmitting. I just put it on power, this one on 20 watt. I'm just looking at reflected. I'm not going to do too complicated with the call, but yeah, I can show you that later. So if I just start transmitting, I want as less as possible. I want back. So you just start tuning. Here we see a drop. And then we set this one to the lowest. This one to the lowest. And we can see that it almost goes 0 power back. And if you want to see it in SWR, you can put it on calibrate. You set this one to maximum. Then you switch it over for your reflected. But you can do exactly the same with the power. Forward power, reflected power. So if you are a little bit old school, you probably still go for the manual like this, and then a proper second hand. And then you can get a little bit more. But this is for portable, it's so much smaller. This is great. And you just push the button, it's tuned, you are done. But this one was like 98 or 95, depending on the frequency. And here we really were very, very high, because the reflected was, the needle almost didn't move. But will you see that very little different? I'm not so sure. And I like that it is so much smaller. So I would say portable, yes. In your home, you're probably better off with a manual, or you need some really proper devices like an ACOM that will probably get it also just as good as I'm doing here with manual. Just to show you what is available, this is the manual that came with it. Just push 1 for to reset, push long for tune. Now we saw that works, and then I will send links to this. Here I found documentation of this extended tuner from my N7DDC, and well, clearly the board you recognize. It is this thing, and there is software available. You can add different displays. You have this long display or this small display that we have here. This one we have, by the way. You can even add manual, some extra buttons. You will see that also, the little push buttons. One for bypass, one for auto. So then you don't need to push the tune button all the time. Here it is explained, auto mode. And well, we have some technical information of the maximum capacity and the maximum inductance we can change. Even a link to the software that you can change your defaults. So that is cool. It's open source, so much information available. It will explain here all the settings that you can edit and also what you not should do. I will leave links, and I would say have fun. So that was a lot, very fast and a little bit messy, because I wanted to show you just this automatic tuner, but I also wanted to show you what the tuner actually does, and maybe it was one big mess, but I hope it is a lot more clear. And if you want to know, yeah, tell me if it's good or not. Yes, I would say yes, it's good enough, and it's a lot better than my internal automatic tuner. And if you have space when you are mobile, nothing beats a manual tuner. But if you need to have a cheap automatic tuner, this is absolutely working good enough, I would say. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Yes, and most of the tuners work the same. Just having now a quick look in this Banggood, and well, instead of that big coil that we saw in the MFJ, they have here just different ones. And here they took 1, 2, 3 settings. Here they have 2 settings. Here they have 3 settings. So combined they also have about 8 different combinations. And that is also a way to solve it. And here again, to change your impedance on the transmitter and the antenna side. So they all work the same way.